didn't really intend on this being a finale. I would have mentioned something in last month's video if I realized this was going to be the end, but I feel like I've hit a natural stopping point, and additionally, I really want to have some extra time these next 2 months to really focus on my year-long project pan items. I have quite a few shadows in there that I have a lot left to use if I want to have any chance of meeting my goals. So I think we will start with sort of the standard update material. I have been working on 6 shadows at a time in this project, and for much of the project my goal was to hit 30 uses or pan, or double the size of the pan if it was an item that I already had hit pan on. A few months ago, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, I modified the rules slightly so that my goal was to either hit 10 uses and then again pan or double the size of the pan. So let's take a look at things. Let's start with the one shade that I had actually rolled over from the previous month. Once I lowered my goal to 10 uses, it was amazing how quickly I could move through things, which I thought was fabulous. And this is from my Profusion Emeralds palette. Obviously this is depotted and it's also mixed in with a handful of other shades in here. But this sparkly teal, this is the shade Monumental. I was at 8 uses and I used it twice, probably within 3 or 4 days after filming my previous update. So I've hit my 10 uses. I think both of these uses I would have used this as eyeliner. That is definitely the way I got the most use out of this shade, but I am glad to have rolled this out. I think it is a very pretty shade. It's just not always super easy to wear a metallic teal for every day. I additionally rolled in 5 new shades last month, so I've hit goal on 2 of those, and 3 I am sitting right at 9 uses, which is why I felt that this was sort of a natural point to end at. I'm filming this a couple of days before I post, so I think everything will be at 10 uses and therefore officially rolled out by the time this video gets posted. One of those items that is sitting at 9 uses is what I am wearing largely today. This is from my NYX Ultimate Utopia palette, and it is this green. This is a matte sage green, and I have this all over my lid, buffed into my crease, under my lower lash line, and then I've topped it off with a few different shadows. I don't think any that we'll be talking about today, but I've been using it that way quite a bit. This is actually my year-long project pan as well, so I kind of hoped that I would be hitting pan in it, and I think I'm really, really close. I kind of thought that I would hit pan today, not quite, but I think that this is very achievable to hit pan on by the end of the year, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think that will be really exciting for me. So, I love this shade. There's a reason that I put it in my project pan for the year, because I knew that it was something that I would be happy to use over and over again, and I have really, really enjoyed it. Another shade that's currently sitting at 9 uses is from my Maybelline City Mini palette. This is in Chill Brunch Neutrals, and it is this very deep purple shade. I was not super enthused when I rolled this in at first. I mean, I have clearly gotten quite a bit of use on this palette as a whole, but this purple has really never been my favorite shade. I always thought that it was a little bit too sparkly to use as a super deep shade in my outer corner, and it just felt a little bit lackluster compared to the other shades, which I really, really enjoy. But I've been using this, well, I've used this 9 times this month as a smudgy liner on my upper lash line, and I think it looks beautiful that way. I don't know why I hadn't used it that way more often, because I've owned this palette for 4 years, probably at this point. And I think I might have used this purple as much in the last month or so as I had in 2 years prior to that. And it is really lovely. Another way that I've worn this a couple of times is that I will just trace out where a winged liner would fall. So I'll just draw on the wing and then I will connect it, not even wearing any other eyeshadow. And I felt like it made my eyes look really defined. It made my lashes look thick. It gave me a really nice lift to my face that I really enjoyed without looking like a whole lot of makeup. I think that deep shimmery quality that had turned me off of this shade so much previously really helped this to not look too stark and really created a beautiful, beautiful effect. So that one was a huge, huge success. I pulled in 2 shades from a quite recent purchase of mine. This is the ColourPop Miss Bliss palette. It's one of their 9 pans. This is from that tie-dye collection that came out not this past summer, but summer 2020, maybe even fall 2020. Here's what this palette looks like. I am at 9 uses on this coral shade Optimist. This is a shade that I've had a little bit of a harder time using. I think that if I'd pulled this in spring or summer, it would have been a little bit easier for me. I've used this in my crease a couple of times. I've also worn it as blush once or twice. I needed to mix it with another shade, but I thought this was a really pretty poppy blush. It's a really nice shade. It's just a very bright shade for my comfort level. The other shade that I pulled in from this palette this month was of Quartz, which is this light pink. It is a matte with a lot of glitter in it, and I used this as a highlight shade. I think every time I used it as a highlight shade. Sometimes I would mix it with some white or just a lighter shade because this is really close to, but just hair deeper than my skin tone, at least on my face. But when I mixed this with a white, it really did provide a super, super beautiful highlight. I also used this once or twice just to blend out edges because it is relatively close to my skin tone. I thought that this was quite a nice shade to use if I had purple in my crease, just to make that transition back into my skin tone. So I don't know why I decided that I was swatching, but this pink of Quartz is really lovely. I really had a lot of hits this month. I pulled in some nice things. And I think the easiest shade that I had to use this month was probably from my Viseart Petit Pro Trois palette. And it was this cool toned matte brown. This has just a little bit of purpley taupe to it. And it is such a nice, smooth shade. These Viseart mattes are really lovely eyeshadows. You can build them up to be very full color, but they are very smooth. They are super blendable. They're super buildable. They're really just absolutely lovely. I've been super, super impressed with the 2 mini palettes that I have. And I think I saw on Ipsy that the Petit Pro 1 was an option in the Glam Bag Plus for the month of October, so I'm hoping to be able to snag that one on a nice discount as well. I've been so impressed by these little palettes. Resounding success this month, and I think that the project overall has been super successful. A couple of nights ago, I went through and I figured out exactly how many shades I had pulled in, how much product I had used up, and I thought we would go through that really quickly just as our little wrap up. So through this project, I have cycled through 37 different shades, And I've gotten really quite a good amount of use on each one of those. For much of the project, my goal was to hit 30 uses, and for the last few months, it's been to hit 10 uses. I think that we talked about that briefly earlier. And I hit pan in 8 of those shades just through the project itself, and I know there's at least 3 shades that were in the project, and I made a lot of progress on them through the project, and then I hit pan shortly after. So this project is solely or partially responsible for 11 different pans in my collection, which I think is amazing. I'm glad that I chose to do this project. I think that it has definitely gotten me out of my comfort zone. It's definitely made me experiment with colors that I might not have chosen to use otherwise. For example, I think in almost maybe the intro or the very first update, I pulled in a matte blue eyeshadow, and I think that I'd used it once or twice prior to that, but because that was quite early on in the project, I used that thing 30 times, and we did develop a grudging respect for one another. I can't say that I have used it a ton since then, but I know how to use it now, and I'm comfortable using it, and I do sometimes like the effect that it gives. Now, I have not fully decided exactly what my Project Pan docket will look like for 2022 yet, but I think there's a very good chance that Pan Those Eyeshadows or some other randomly selected roulette style eyeshadow project will be on that list. If you have any opinions about which projects you would like to see, I would be very open to hearing that. There are so many different projects that sound so interesting, and I know that I just have one face and a limited amount of time to make good progress. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that following along with this project has been even a fraction as fun for you as doing it has been for me. And I really hope that any projects you're working on right now are going well. Thanks again, and I really hope that I will see you all next time. Bye!